Hello, Mama. So I can't believe I'm actually saying this, but I did decide to break up with PowerSheets this year. If you don't know what PowerSheets is, it is a goal planning system created by the company is called Cultivate What Matters. And Laura Casey is the CEO of that company. And I first started with PowerSheets back in 2022. When I first got started with them, I loved them. It was a great system. It really helped to focus me. I love the process that it walked you through. And I actually went on Black Friday to purchase PowerSheets again. A few things slowed me down. The first was they didn't go on Black Friday sale, which I was a little disappointed about. They're about $65, which for the first time felt like when I bought them in 2022, that felt reasonable. And then just knowing that I was going to be getting the same thing again for $66, I struggled with if I wanted to invest in that. I also felt like I fell off of the PowerSheets wagon like midway through the year. It tends to happen to me. We go away on vacation in July, so oftentimes I fall off in July, and then it's hard to get back started in August, and then September school starts. So I was just nervous to pay that kind of money for something that I knew I was probably only going to use a third of the year, 2/3 of the year at the most. So I decided to give something different a try. I asked myself, what works for me? What works for me is my map book. My map book is my notebook organizational system. I swear by it. So many moms, so many of my clients, it's transformed their lives. If you don't know what I'm talking about, check out the link in the video description that will lead you to your free notebook setup guide so you can check it out. But the notebook system just works for me. I have been consistently using it since 2017, and I know it works. It works for me. And I need a little bit of freedom, which the notebook gives me, but then a little bit of structure, which the system gives me. So I decided to try a goal notebook for 2023 instead of PowerSheets. It is mid-February when this video is coming out, and so far so good, dare I say it, fingers crossed. I always give myself January to sort of think through all the things that I want to focus on for the year. And then in February, I tried to focus a little bit, make some decisions, and decide what sort of the outcomes of my year are going to be, my goals, if you will. I guess I'll use that word goals interchangeably, but really these are just big areas that I would like to improve, sort of personal growth areas. But I feel like goals makes more sense to the larger population, so I'll probably just use that term in this video. So that being said, I'd like to introduce you to my goal notebook. It is different, it looks different, the cover is different than my normal math book, which I use a composition notebook for. And I'm going to be just sharing with you how I use that. So what it is basically a place for me to keep my annual review. So I did my 2022 annual review in this notebook. And then it's a place for me to kind of sketch out my goals for the year and my action steps. My thought was that it would be really cool. This is my vision. At the end of the day, I thought it would be really cool to have a notebook where I can see my entire process for the year, for my goals, for each specific goal. So you'd be able to see sort of the progress that was made each month, where you started, where you end. I don't know. I'm a goal nerd. I think that's really cool. So I decided to give that a try this year. I do have, and I will include pictures in the blog post for this episode, but I do have, because I know it's hard to see on the screen, but I do have a table of contents that I'm using to organize myself. Again, the annual review is in the front, and then when I was on my Florida retreat, I spent some time really breaking up my goals into the different sections and what I wanted to focus on. So here's how I use it. I sat down and chose the 3 goals that I want to focus on this year. I had a list of like 6 or 7. I did 8 when I did PowerSheets last year, and it was just too much. There was too many things to track, too many things to keep track of, and I started to feel like a failure when I wasn't making progress on certain goals. So I decided to really focus this year and dig deep on 3 areas. And what I did was I used sticky notes to divide up, to sort of tab the notebook so that I could do a section for each goal. And each goal has I started off by writing January at the top and where I currently stood. So for example, one of my first goal for this year that I am going to accomplish is I am going to be holding my published book in my hands by December 31st, 2023. So in order to make that happen, I needed to pause and say, all right, but where do I stand right now? So I wrote down January and I wrote down exactly where I stand. So the first draft of my book is written. I have beta readers all ready to dive in. I have a plan, a rough plan in my head of how I'm going to redraft my proposal. And that's about it. I haven't gotten much further than that, but that's fine. It's February. So that was what I wrote down for January. And then I skipped a few lines, wrote down February, and then I wrote down all the goal activities that I wanted to accomplish in February. For example, rereading the first draft of my book was one of my goals when I was on my retreat in Florida. Another activity was to revisit my proposal that I had written for a previous book that I didn't write, in order to start to figure out what I need to do for this book in order to complete a proposal, by mid-spring. So I wrote down those goal activities, and then I am planning to go back to it in February with a different color pen, of course, and write down sort of what I did accomplish. So I have the plan, I have what I did accomplish, and then I'm hoping to be able to just put like a little reflection there of like what went well, anything extra that I was able to make happen, or ideas for the next month of what I want to accomplish. So it's pretty open, but I like that. I think it gives me sort of room to grow in the different areas without necessarily having to like habit track. My goals are also at the point where I don't feel like I need to be consistently, like if I don't work on my book every day, that's okay. Like I can't work on my book every day. It's not reasonable. So that's another reason why this goal notebook really makes sense for me. So reasons why I'm loving the goal notebook is one, it is cheap. This was, I think this notebook was $2.99. I did get it at Home Goods. It's got really nice paper, which I get excited about. It's nice and thick, so the writing doesn't come through. But it's a cheap alternative to PowerSheets. I like the flexibility and the freedom that it gives me. And I also just really like I mentioned earlier, I love the idea of being able to go back and look at just my book goal and see the pages and pages of action steps that I took and the progress that I made. Like, I think that would just be so cool in December to look back on. I also know that I'll be holding my published book at that point. I don't know what the journey looks like to get there, but I know sort of by baby stepping it with this goal notebook that I'm going to get there. So I am pretty excited about it. If you are interested in starting your own goal notebook, let me know in the comments. I don't have a resource created for this or anything because honestly, I'm just going with it and seeing how it works out. But if you were interested in having a resource or a setup guide or something along those lines, definitely let me know in the comments. Or if you are still a PowerSheets user, I would love to hear how that experience is going. I hope your goals in 2023 are going well. And don't forget, Mama, keep growing. Little eyes are watching. Have a great day.